Well, today is Mondays, and it's always the most boring day starting the week. However, as always, here in the WZ, we intend to keep your Mondays very fun and exciting with some good ass reviews from pro wrestling. So today we have four reviews from three promotions. The first two are from day four and day five from All Japan Pro Wrestling with their double tournament, the Real World Tag League and Junior Battle of Glory. So I'm going to have to catch up to all the way to day nine. And then, of course, we move on with GCW's much recent event. This one took place on Sunday, and this one is What's Your Choice? It does feature two championship matches, the tag titles and the world title. And of course, we have the main event, Career versus Broski. So basically, Matt Cardona faces against Jimmy Lloyd. And then, of course, we move to New Japan Pro Wrestling with more of World Tag League with, I believe, is the B block. So we will see how far progressed these guys will go. And then, of course, we have some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as who's booked, what matches are being put out by the promotions, who's booked, what matches are set, any wrestlers that have been signed or departing from the promotions, injured wrestlers, the whole enchilada. So let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Lead It Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay right here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of reviews from very wrestling promotions in the world, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do some discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want. We also do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I tend to put it on its separate video by itself, and we do other cool stuff in here. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us and click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool things on this channel. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment down below. Now, let's begin with our very first review. This is day four of All Japan Pro Wrestling with more of the Real World Tag League and Junior Battle of Glory. Now, these are tournaments for the tag team division and the junior heavyweight division at the same time. There is no blocks in this one in case anybody asks, but it is very much a point-based system. You're not limited until you don't reach it to the highest point. It's just like the G1, any anything you may have seen from New Japan, All Japan does the same thing too. Now, our first four matches are involving the Junior Battle of Glory. The first one we have Ryo Inoue versus Naruki Doi. Now, Inoue was not stupid enough. He knows exactly the kind of person Doi can be. Doi likes to take advantage by jumping on his opponent before the start of the bell, where Inoue did it right himself first. Now, there was a lot of back and forth in this match about pinning the other, but however, this match ended in a time limit draw, 10 minutes. Now some of you think, wait a minute, normally New Japan does like 20 minutes, 30. Well, yeah, but this is All Japan. This is their rules, their ways. But very disappointing. But the point system ends with these two tie with 3 points. So basically, they do both have each a win and a draw. and I believe they may have several losses now. I don't know how many losses they have. I haven't been keeping up on that, so we're just not going to mention that. I'm just going to mention how many points they have. Now, our next match, we have continuing with the Junior Battle of Glory. We have Fuminori Abe taking on Koji Iwamoto. Now, this was a pretty good match, I have to say. I really like this one. Very straightforward. Basically, nothing compared like the first one we started out. But unfortunately, this match ended also in a time limit draw, 10 minutes. So they both each get 1 point. And that is the total points of 3 and 2. So I'm going to say Koji Iwamoto has 2 draws in this one. I believe that Fuminori Abe only has 1 win and 1 draw. So we'll see what happens from there. Next up, these guys are teammates in the same unit, um, Dan Tamura and Hikaru Sato. They're part of the faction known as Evolution. These two guys have two separate wrestling styles. Dan Tamura is more of a powerhouse wrestler, while you look at Hikaru Sato has a bit of the striking capability and submission capability, kind of like an MMA style or martial arts, however you want to put it. But it works perfectly with them. However, none of them had any way to pick up a win. But much like the first 2 matches, this match ended also in a time limit draw with 10 minutes. So each of them gets 1 point. Um, Hikaru Sato, who in fact had no wins, basically he only has 1 point, which is very, very disappointing. As for Dan Tamura, he has 5, so I'm going to presume he had 2 wins with 1 draw. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, our final match we have from the Junior Battle of Glory. We have Rising Hayato and Atsuki Aoyagi. Now, these two guys also are no strangers to each other. They are part of the same team together. They even tag team together. So this is one of those matches where you know they're gonna have to pull up another spectacular match. However, I was hoping that this match does not end in another time limit draw because I'm watching this. I was like thinking, please do not end in a time limit draw. However, it was a beautiful match. I have to say, these two guys hold no punches. But Rising Hayato couldn't even apply the springboard moonsault, which is his main weapon, to put away Aoyagi. But Aoyagi was about to do something in the top corner side of the ring, but it was Rising Hayato that applied. Well, he what was it? No, now I remember. Of course, it was Aoyagi that was about to do a Hurricanrana, but Rising Hayato was able to reverse it and pin him 1, 2, 3. I have to say, what a great match. It did not end in another time limit draw. Thank God. But this match ended with Rising Hayato with 4 points, so that means he has 2 wins. As for Atsuki Yogi, he has 3 points with, I'm assuming, 1 draw and a win. So that's how it rolls up. Now we proceed with the other tournament, the Real World Tag League. We start out with Ryan Davidson and Cyrus taking on Okuda Omori and Katsuhiko Nakajima. Now, I'm a fan of Nakajima. The dude is a freaking beast. He can hit hard until he knocks your lights out. He was able to apply that with um, either Y, but it was Davidson who suffered the fate with his striking capability, his hit of hardness, however he did it. But apparently Davidson suffered in the hands of the vertical spike. 1, 2, 3. It's over, giving Nakajima and Amori their win with 6 points. So basically, they are with 3 wins so far. And as for Davidson and Cyrus, just 4 points with 2 wins. Next up, we have Kento Miyahara and Yuma Aoyogi taking on Ren Ayabe and Shuji Ishikawa. I have to say, this was a good match. I also like, due to the fact you look at Ayabe. He is a big, tall wrestler. He doesn't have that much of experience, but he has learned and grown since then. But however, Aoyagi, no, he couldn't rely on a bit of his ability. He had to think outside the box, so he used a very interesting move that we have seen over time, and that is, of course, the inside cradle that did the trick for him to pick up the win. So, Miyahara and Aoyagi walked away with in total of 5 points. So it's going to be 2 wins and 1 loss. And as for Ayabe and Ishikawa, 2 points. That means they only have 1 win. Next up, we got Eruption. Hideki Okatani and Yukio Sakaguchi taking on the the Voodoo Murders, more specifically the Saito brothers. Now, this was a big challenge for Okatani and Sakaguchi due to the fact that these guys are bigger individuals. But of course, knowing Sakaguchi, he had to rely on his striking capabilities in hopes to bring these two big men down. But unfortunately, Okatani ended up in the wrong side of a chokeslam by Jun Saito, picking up their win. So they walk away with a total of 8 points. That means they have 4 wins. And of course, they have then Okatani and Sakaguchi with 2 points with 1 win. So practically at this point, Voodoo Murders, or should I say the Saito brothers, are in the lead. Next up, we have Bulk Orchestra Galeno de Mal and Yado Tamura taking on the unlikely duo Suwama and Hideki Suzuki. Now, of course, Suwama and Suzuki don't get along that very well, but unfortunately, they were able to pull it off nicely. So they were able to get along, but however, the powerness with Galeno and Tamura were the real difference maker here. It was Tamura with a lariat onto Suwama, giving them their next 2 points, which is the total of 4. That makes they only have 2 wins in this tournament. And as for Suwama and Suzuki, only 2 points with 1 win. Now, our main event, we have Seigo Tachibana and Ikemenjiro, or they know him as Kurishio, Tokyo, Japan. They take on Yuma Anzai and Rookie Honda. I have to say, I was a bit of surprise of this one. Now, the reason is Anzai and Honda seem like the team that most likely could win. could win. However, Tachibana and Ikemenjiro really put up every ounce of energy in this match. But in the end, it was, of course, a forearm to the back by Tachibana onto Anzai to pick up the win. That leads them, of course, with Tachibana and Ikemenjiro with 2 wins, with 2 points, with 1 win. And as for Anzai and Honda, they only have 1 point due to a draw. So basically, they have to catch up if they can. So we'll see about that in the next shows that they have. So right now we're done with this with day 4. Let's move on with day 5. Okay, so we continue on with more All Japan Pro Wrestling. This is day 5, and they're in a different location at this point. So this happened on the 23rd of November. Now the one I did in day 4 was on the 21st. Now we begin with the Junior Battle of Glory matches. Only 3 of them so far were mentioned. Now there is a non-tournament match. We're gonna skip that one and focus on the main tournaments only. Now, our first match of the Junior Battle of Glory, we have Ryo and Noi taking on Atsuki Aoyagi. Now, of course, these guys had amazing matches the day before, but um, I was surprised how this match was going. They were going back and forth on this particular match, trying to pick up a win before the time limit draw. But it was Atsuki Aoyagi with the 450 splash. That was the real difference maker that put away Annoy, and that leaves him with 5 points. So that basically means he had 2 wins and 1 draw, and I don't know how many losses he had. And as for Annoy, he only has 3 with, of course, 1 draw and 1 win, and who knows how many losses. Next up, we have Koji Iwamoto taking on Hikaru Sato. Pretty good match. I know that Sato would have put Iwamoto in submission if he given the chance. However, Iwamoto knew that was too dangerous for him to be put in. But in the end, of course, it was the Fujiwara armbar by Sato that made the real difference maker to pick up the win. So he walks away with 3 points with his first win, and that's the total of 3 points, one draw and one win. And as for Iwamoto, he has, I believe, two draws in this one. Now, our last match, we have Fuminori Abe versus Rising Hayato. Of course, many people would say Rising Hayato was the fan favorite of this match. However, it was a pretty good match. However, Fuminori Abe was no idiot. He knew exactly what Hayato was going to do to put him away. So when Hayato was about to apply the springboard moonsault, he put up his knees and that was it. But he immediately put him in a inside cradle maneuver in order to pick up the win, and just like that, he wins. So basically, Fuminori has walked away with the total of 5 points, two wins and one draw. As for Rising Hayato, only 2 wins with 4 points. Now let's jump in with the Real World Tag League matches. We have Hideki Okatani and Yukio Sakaguchi taking on Suwama and Hideki Suzuki. Now, you could say that this was going to be a very interesting match, but much like what we saw with Suwama and Suzuki bickering over each other, how they were going to run this match, there was some mistakes made by Okatani and Sakaguchi. However, while this was happening, Suzuki actually played them, tried to get them riled up, but it worked in their favors. But it was Suwama with a chokehold onto Okatani to pick up the win. So right now, Suwama and Suzuki walked away with a total of 4 points, which is 2 wins. And as for Okatani and Sakaguchi, just 2 points. Next up, we have Yuma Anzai and Ruki Honda taking on Shuji Ishikawa and Ren Ayabe. A pretty good match. I think it was really, really interesting how this one was going to be turned out because, of course, um, Honda seems like the most capable wrestler. Anzai is like the young favorite in this one, but it was, of course, who was Anzai who picked up the most impressive win when he applied a German suplex on Ishikawa. Ishikawa was a bigger individual than him, and boom, just like that, it was over. Next match, we have Kento Miyahara and Yuma Aoyagi taking on Ikemanjiro and Seigo Tachibana. Now, of course, there was a fun moment where Aoyagi decided to wear a jacket to play, of course, Ikemanjiro's way. Like, play, I'm going to wear a jacket since you want to have a little fun. I'll do the same thing. Now, it did not affect the teaming capability between Aoyagi and Miyahara. Uh, but there were several mistakes made between both Ikemanjiro and Tajibana. But luckily, it was, of course, a very impressive suplex by Aoyagi onto Tachibana to pick up the win. So they walk away with a total of 7 points, with, I believe, 3 wins and one draw. And as for Tachibana and Ikemanjiro, only 2 points with 1 win from the day before. Now, this one was a very match that I definitely could not avoid. This one was between Voodoo Murders, more specifically the Saito brothers, consistent with he Hokuto Omori and of course Kazuhiko Nakajima. I have to say this match was impressive. Now, Nakajima, who is a striker, he hits hard. I was so surprised how hard he can hit against two bigger individuals because to me, I felt like he was doing all the work. I mean, of course, Nakajima would have been the one to pick up the win, but it was an impressive vertical spike by Nakajima to Risato to pick up the win. However, they both have the total of 8 points. But here's the interesting kicker. Um, this is the Voodoo Murders' first loss of the tournament, so that means they could have had 10 points, but it did not. So they only have one loss. As for Nakajima and Omori, only just one loss, I believe. So basically, I can calculate from this. So right now, we are seeing a tie, but someone has to break away from that. We just gotta wait and see until then. For right now, I think we're Completely done with All Japan. Let's move on with GCW. Okay, GCW, what's your choice? This took place in Brooklyn, New York. Now, we opened up with an interesting 8-man tag match. We have wasted young adults consisting of Dylan McKay, Marcus Mathers, Alec Price, and Cole Radrick. They take on SG Busse, consisting of Manders, Mance Warner, Alec Hatch, and Effie. Now, of course, we're going to see some great capabilities with the young adults, but we're going to see the viciousness and the brutality from SG Bussy. So, as you know, they will bring out a lot of plunder in this match no matter what. However, it was Mance Warner with a knee strike onto Matters to pick up the win. Next up, we saw some interesting match. We have Tracy Hot Sauce Williams taking on Masha Slamovich. Now, you know this is going to be interesting. Now, Tracy Williams, one of the most impressive technical wrestlers that we know today, faces off someone who's not afraid to take on any challenge. I wasn't too sure how this was going to turn out, but Masha was applying the White Knight driver, and boom, picked up the win. And not to mention, Tracy Williams showed some respect to her, knowing that she has what it takes to face guys like him. Next up, we have Tag Team Act, the GCW World Tag Team titles on the line. The main event as Midas Black and Jay Lyons taking on Violence Forever, uh, Dominic Greeny and Kevin Koo. Now you know that the that Violence Forever were definitely going to bring the violence involved in this match. That's always been clear from day one since winning the GCW Tag Team titles. But none of the usual maneuvers and tricks by main event helped because apparently they did a kick brainbuster onto Midas Black. One, two, three. Just like that, it's over. Now, our next match, we have Billy Starks versus Unagi Sayaka. Now, for the record, this is not the first time these two have come face to face with each other. They have met once before a few months back at Queen of the Indies in San Francisco. It was Unagi who came up with the win. However, the obvious question, like Veda Scott, who was doing the commentary, can Billy Starks tie it up? Well, basically, that was a very interesting. Now, there were some moments where Unagi was playing a little mind games with Billy, and it worked in her favor. But however, there was a moments where Billy was about to lose her composure with the referee. It could have cost the match, but however, the Swanton Bomb on Unagi was the real difference maker in this match, winning against Unagi. So that means they're both one and one. So sooner or later, one of them has to break the tie. Next up, we have the GCW World Title. We have Little Guido, who you guys remember from ECW. Many promotions you've seen him over the years, taking on Blake Christian. Now, of course, Blake Christian, he will devour guys like Little Guido, who is well experienced wrestler because he wants to prove that he is far more beyond everybody else. However, there'll be some usual tricks, but no one could escape the curve stomp by Blake Christian in order to retain the belt. Now, our next match is a non title match, Jordan Oliver taking on Gringo Loco. I think this was a pretty good, impressive match. Now, of course, as I said, a non title match. If Gringo Loco defeats Jordan Oliver, then there's a possibility he could issue a challenge for the GCW World title. But however, that wasn't the case. Now, there were multiple cases where since making this new move by Jordan Oliver, he intended to apply the acid bomb. However, it failed him at least once, but second try, he pulled it off. So, at least it worked for him. Now, another non title match, we have Tony Deppen and Rina Yamashita. Now, if you guys know who I'm talking about, Rina Yamashita is the current GCW Ultraviolent Champion. So basically, there is one thing, it's interesting. Apparently, Rina Yamashita brought out a lot of plunder. Now, basically, Tony Deppen doesn't have the necessary experience to deal with this type of match. However, he is capable of handling it, but not in the same extent as Rina Yamashita. So of course, Rina Yamashita applied a the splash mountain onto him a, with the piles of chairs and the door to put him away once and for all. One, two, three. Just like that, it was over. Next up, we have Peril and Charles Mason taking on Alex Hammerstone and Richard Holiday. Now, as you know, Richard Holiday has been getting in the face of Mason for a long time since arriving. However, Holiday was losing his composure. He was Hammerstone could have ended this match, but of course, Holiday wanted to be the one to pick up the victory. So Hammerstone tried to reason with him, but of course, out of nowhere, Holiday turned on Hammer, beating the crap out of him, choke him, and then of course, Perro and Charles Mason won. But looks like that uh, Holiday decided to align himself with that piece of garbage, Charles Mason. But we don't know what Hammerstone would think, but I'm sure he will get his revenge against Holiday. Next up, we have the most interesting match you definitely don't want to miss, which is Mike Bailey versus Maki Ito. I was so excited for this. Now, there are moments where Maki Ito, when it comes to hitting her, she has the tendency to cry, and of course uh, the opponent will be booed. Mike Bailey suffered that, tried to reason, then of course he ended up crying himself, and then the referee. But I have to say there was a great moment where, of course, Maki was put in the flamenco driver by Mike Bailey in order to win. It did not work. However, it was an impressive roll up by Maki Ito that picked up the win. I have to say, pretty amazing. I would love to see another round two for these two. Now, our main event is a career versus Broski. Now, for months, of course, we've been seeing Jimmy Lloyd getting back to back faces with Matt Cardona. Now, this is where the idea is this. If Matt Cardona loses, that means he's out of GCW, he cannot come back. But if Jimmy Lloyd loses, he has no other to join the Broski. I had a feeling that this was going to end bad because Steph Delanders got involved. She pulled a ref when Jimmy Lloyd had this match won, but luckily Sawyer Wreck tried to help. And then, of course, when things got out of hand, a second ref showed up to help to make things happen. But Matt Cardona, I don't know if he intentionally took out the ref or it was incidental. But, however, Matt Cardona's father, Bob Cardona, who was tended, decided to get involved. But it was, of course, the radio silence by Matt Cardona that finished off Jimmy Lloyd to pick up the win. However, at the end of the match, Jimmy Lloyd seems that he joined Matt Cardona and his band of flunkies. So we'll see what happens in the future. Hope someone can save Jimmy Lloyd from Matt Cardona. So I think that's pretty much it right now with GCW. Let's move on with World Tag League. Okay, New Japan Pro Wrestling with Day 12 of World Tag League. Now we're only going to focus on the B block matches only. Now, first match we have the Rogue Army, Jack Banza and Balak Fale taking on just five guys. Yuya Uemura, and Taichi. Now, they have been very impressive so far in the tournament. So they were currently in 8 points. However, I this match took a turn for them for the worse. Apparently, they were unable to succeed against the Rogue Army, despite the fact they were at the bottom. But it was Balak Fale with the Fale fall that became the real difference in this match, giving them their next 2 points with the total of four. So that means they only have 2 wins and 4 losses. As for um, just five guys, just 4 wins and 2 losses. So practically they're doing great. Next up, we have Subinoto Jr. and Atlantis Jr. taking on God, Hikuleo, and El Fantasma. fantastic match. I have to say it was pretty impressive. A lot of spots with the luchadors, but in the end, it was the Super Thunder Kiss 86 onto Soberano Jr. by LP, but it was Hikuleo who picked up the win. And of course, at the end of this match, El Fantasmo showed some big respect for both Atlantis and Soberano Jr. And of course, El Fantasmo seems he's very interested in going to Mexico to be possibly to attend or whatever he's going to do. However, um, this match ended with, of course, the GOD with 8 points. So they're currently tied with just five guys. And as for Soberano Jr. and Atlantis, only 2 points with one win. Next up, we have Yuji Nagata versus Minoru Suzuki versus Bushiman, Yoshihashi, and Hiroki Goto. Now, I knew this match was going to be very interesting because in the past, Hiroki Goto has faced Minoru Suzuki countless time. When Hiroki Goto was a never openweight champion, he defeated, of course, Ms. Suzuki for that match, but for that belt. But however, it was very impressive in every part. But it was Goto who made the real difference maker with the Goto Ishiki onto Nagata to pick up the win. So far, right now, they only have a total of 7 points with three wins, one draw, and one loss, or two. But as for Nagata and Suzuki, only with 2 points with one win. Next up, we have Monster Sauce, um, Lance Archer, and Alex Zane taking on Sodakon Jr. and Yota Tsuji. I have to say, what a good match because it showed Tsuji how much he is determined to win this tournament no matter what. But it was but also on a note, Naito showed up and joined the commentary team, just like he did in the Junior Tag League. However, in this case, he wanted to give his opinions of this match. But however, I am sure he was impressed with um, Yota Tsuji to pick up the win when he applied the Jeans Blaster onto Zayn. 1, 2, 3. They get 6 points in total with three wins and two losses. However, Monster Sauce are it's still at 8 points with one loss in this one. I believe no 2 losses and 4 wins. So they're currently tied with not only with just five guys but also God. Sooner or later, someone has to break the tie. So we'll see what happens when the 8 block is back, and we'll continue with more of World Tag League. But right now, let's move on with some news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. Recently, as you know, plans have been made for announcements for 2024 by various promotions. Two promotions have announced brand new shows. The first one is from West Coast Pro with their new show called Under the Bridge, just like the song from Red Hot Chili Peppers, Under the Bridge. That one will take place, I believe, on the 18th of February in LA at the Don Quixote. I don't know where that is, but yes. Now they haven't announced who's going to participate. I'm sure they'll do that soon. Also, Prestige Wrestling has announced for another LA show after the Combat Princess with Tokyo Pro. That one will take place on the 25th of February. This one's called A Moment of Violence. However, they'll be at the Globe Theater in LA. But however, they even announced the debut of the first person they booked. That is none other than the legendary Tiger Mask. So Tiger Mask is the first person to be announced to participate. I'm sure many of you are excited. Now, in the last episode or so or two, I mentioned the Jersey Cup, J Cup is returning. It will take place in February on the 9th and 10th of 2024. Now they announced for the first four participants in the tournament. We have the current champion, Jordan Oliver, Masha Slamovich, Alec Price, and man like Darius. I have to say, good start. Now, the GCW announced for their FE Big Gay Brunch that will take place on the 27th of January in 2024. They had the debut of MXM. Um, you may recognize them as wrestlers from, I don't know who they are, but they were just announced. Now, moving on to some other pressing matters in our news updates. Now, as you know, Ronda Rousey made an appearance in Ring of Honor. Now, PW Insider confirmed that so far as what they know, there haven't been any talks between AEW and Ronda Rousey. So basically, they're not talking, no indications will she be signing. That is something we haven't heard yet. We don't know if Tony Khan has any interest in her, but I'm sure many fans, especially WWE loyalists, will be pissing their pants on this one. Now, this was confirmed by Sports Illustrated. Um, Kazuchika Okada. It was later announced that his contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling will expire on January of 2024. Now, Okada has been talking about considering moving overseas. And of course, there's two promotions we normally would think, AEW and WWE. However, certain people have often talked about if Okada ended up in WWE, he basically would be like a second Nakamura. Now remember, I mentioned this before. I know several people who are not happy that they were unable to make Nakamura a champion, to be the top guy. And many people are saying they feel the same way they believe with Okada. Others saying that he is better off being with AEW. But we will see what that be like. And I'm sure many of us cannot imagine him leaving New Japan like this. Now, as you know, the time and date of the vacancy for the Stardom of the World of Stardom, aka the Red Belt, we have Maika, who just won the right to challenge, versus Suzuki, who is the winner of the 5-star Grand Prix and managed to save her spot against Azuki. Now, it seems Maika had an interview with Tokyo Sports, making some harsh criticism against Suzuki, and she had this to say about her. Let me pull it up for everybody. She said this is what she says. She doesn't understand how much responsibility it is to wear the top title in this company. Now, Suzu has made it clear that she wants to become the face of pro wrestling. That's always been clear. But Tam Nakano and Maika, I have to believe they understand the responsibilities, because when you're wearing the red belt, that means you represent the company. And I think that's what bothers her about it. So as you know, Maika, who felt that this she should have been crowned to begin with, but however she has to contend with Suzu. She even said more about this. Ever since Suzu entered Stardom as part of Prominence, I had a vague feeling that I might have a fight with this girl someday. As she continues, the 5-star and the artist, I thought many titles that I wish this girl wasn't here. This is the first time I've hated someone so much. That's why I have to crush her this time. So basically, she feels she should not have come here. And she even told Julia that this is all her fault, that she should not have been here. I mean, Zuzu made her choice to come, unlike Julia, who just immediately left Ice Ribbon to just join out of nowhere. But she also said this. Maika pointed out, I don't mind her talking about her big dreams, but she doesn't know what she wants to do. She doesn't understand how much responsibility it is to wear the top title in this company. So she goes on and on saying that Zuzu is not understanding the type of responsibility she has to take. So this is what she said. And therefore, in the challenge contract match, Azuki got the louder cheers from the audience. A girl who has no expectations or support like that is not suitable to be in the company's champion, right? I can't entrust Zuzu with this belt, and I have no choice but to stop her here. Now, as you know, Azuki, many fans supported Azuki. She could have been the one to win. Many fans saying Azuki should have already been pushed for a singles run, and I think that's something that should have been. And this is what she had to say. Finally, had to say. I have said many times, but I want to hold the belt and fight against the top men's wrestlers, and I'm going to do so someday. Not that no stardom wrestler has ever done have lived up in the company and the women's wrestling's world. So basically, um, Maika, on the other hand, is determined to show that she is a much suitable champion than Suzu. I know some of you are saying that Suzu, she's young, she's impressive, yes. But the obvious question is, can she represent stardom like other wrestlers have? I mean, Tam Nakano knew that she had the responsibility on her shoulder. Now, Suzu, of course, had to respond what Maika had to say, and she said, "A girl with no expectations, have no supports, doesn't deserve to be champion of the company. I told you, I didn't I? No matter what people think, I'm going to do what I want. If you don't have that kind of determination, you can't do it. It's a shame that you care about what kind of thing, Maika." So she's saying to her, "You're saying that I don't have friends, I don't have support, and I'm not suitable to be champion." I think for her, she's saying that, you're full of yourself. You cannot see my determination to get to the top. That's something that, of course, we can see. We're looking at Maika, who is, in fact, saying Zuzu is unfit to be champion. Zuzu saying that I have a determination to become champion. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, moving on. Now, there's been a lot of controversy recently, as you know, for the upcoming Pro Wrestling No event that takes place on January 2nd. People are now saying that they don't like the idea of Kota Ibushi and Naomichi Marufuji to be the main event. Now, people would obviously say the GHC Heavyweight Championship is what makes the main event. However, the director of Pro Wrestling Noah, Takeda, had this to say. The only thing I would like to say is that this decision was made from Marufuji's perspective, not Ibushi. I'm very aware that everyone is posting things like, "Don't underestimate the GHC title," and this is not Noah. However, there's no doubt that Marufuji has been able to take over and protect the organization Pro Wrestling Noah, in which is so beloved and talked about passionately. From Matsuharu Misawa, I hope will explode not only social media but also the venue on the day of the show, but both the GHC and for Marufuji. So some people are now saying that this is not a good idea to have this match between Ibushi and Marufuji. It turns out that Marufuji was the one who made this call. Now, those who don't know, behind the scenes, Marufuji is the vice president of Pro Wrestling Noah. And of course, those who don't know, Marufuji has been part of Noah since it founded by Misawa. So that's the reason why he's doing this. So we'll see what happens. Now, finally, Kamitani had an interesting interview saying that she wants to surpass, of course, someone you guys know, Io Sky, or as we know her, Io Shirai. Now, this led to, of course, you all know that Kamitani broke the record for the Wonder of Stardom, the white belt. 15 consecutive defenses, beating out Momo Watanabe, and now she's targeting Sky's uh, top record in the tag team division. Now, this is what she had to say. Let me pull it up. The first time I wore this belt, I was in a situation where I was being pulled along by Utami, and we won the belt right away. So there were some parts that I could not finish. 3 years have passed since then. I believe we have to lead the world of professional wrestling, so I'm really happy to do so. Now, as you know, she joined the promotion. She won these two won these titles back in 2020, defended it twice. So basically, the reign was very short lived. And this is what she had to say: "I want to compete against the strongest wrestlers from other promotions and overseas, and I want to create a legend with Utami that will remain memories and records." Now, according to her, as you know, this is what we do know. In 2016, April, Thunder Rock was infamous from that time. Mayu Iwatani and Io Sky, they hold a record of 10 um, consecutive defenses. So it seems now Saya Kamitani wants to break that record. So she's confident enough to think that she can pull it off. And this is what she had to say. Things like cheering on the audience in anticipation of matches changes. Challenges come out one after another. And after I broke that record, I felt the way people looked at me, and their option had me changed. And of course, if you guys know this, Kamitani is part of Queen's Quest. Io Sky was the leader of that group. So when Io Sky left, Kamitani came in and then later joined. So, and that's how things went down. But she did say this: I studied the drop kicks and backflips, which I sometimes use, by watching Io San's videos. I have a lot of respect for wrestlers who came from Stardom, not Stardom to be working in WWE like this. I want to carve a new legend into this belt and put matches that shine brightly as Io San and her friends overseas. So basically, now she wants to um, build a legacy that could surpass Io Sky. So we will see if she can pull it off. Now she was able to do it with the white belt. Now we'll see if she can pull this one off. So we'll be watching. And I think that's pretty much it for now. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, since it's Tuesday, we do have NWA Power, I believe, and NXT. So we will see what happens in NXT. I'm believing that we still continue with more of the Iron Survival Challenge, and we'll see what's going to take place. Haven't decided if there's any new reviews I may do. I still have day 6, 7, 8, and 9 from All Japan, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to do those due to the fact that by the time I wake up, I'm going to be heading to my regular day job. But we'll see how things will progress from here on out. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.